welcome to our newest episode of Ask the Betrayed. I'm Sharon,
And I am Ray.
and not only are we certified professionals who specialize in this type of issue, we also are betrayal survivors and thrivers. And so we come to you with both of those things in our back pockets. We hope that you are finding our podcasts helpful, insightful. I hope they're making you think. I hope they're giving you some hope that you can feel different.
Yeah. I found myself telling someone the other day, I hope they're bringing out the best in you and your healing journey.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I like the idea that you and I are giving back in a way that we haven't before.
Yeah, yeah. I know we always talk about the fact that there were no podcasts when you and I first started going through all of this, and what a gift it is to do what I think was a motivating factor for both of us in specializing for this experience in this community is to make the experience better and easier and more accessible than it was for us.
Yes, I agree. So I'm going to let you kick off our topic.
One of the things we talk about so much when it comes to healing from any kind of significant trauma, but specifically this intimate form of relational and betrayal trauma, is that we heal when we begin to reaccess our voice and our choice. So, what we have to say about our situations and our lives as a whole, and what choices we make, not only in response to that, but separate and independently from that and beyond that as well. We've talked a lot in recent episodes about our choices and who and how we respond to the situation, how we choose to be in our own lives and in the world around us. So, I thought it would be fun for today to talk a little bit more about using our voices. And I often joke and say that there was a time when I didn't know how to use my voice. And then there came a day I needed to learn how to use my grown-up indoor voice because I knew how to use my toddler tantrum outdoor voice. But it was that refining and maturing that sense of knowing what to say, knowing how to say what I wanted to say, knowing the purpose, the why behind what it was I was trying to say that became so critically important in feeling not clumsy and chaotic about the way that I used my voice, but really masterful and confident and trusting myself in the things that I had to say and how to say it. And I don't know about you, but I think every single working day of my life, I'm saying it and I'm saying it and I'm saying it. I feel like I'm screaming it and he still doesn't hear me. Or if he does hear me, it's after I have already put myself into a pretzel trying so desperately to get him to hear me and understand. So tell me I'm not the only one who hears and sees that crossing my desk on the daily.
Every day, every day. And I remember that so vividly. I think I would want to add to your monologue just the win to use your voice because I think that is very important as well. As I was thinking about this topic, I imagined me and James as dogs, and I was this yappy little chihuahua, sort of ankle biter, any little wrong move or anything, I was all over it. I don't know. I didn't come up with a dog for James because I remembered being that ankle biter. But, maybe he was like this really slow, sort of slobbery Saint Bernard. And I loved what you said when you were teeing us up for this, that we twist ourselves, we step out of ourselves to try to use our voice when it is something that we are not accustomed to.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of this pendulum. I haven't used my voice. I realize I needed to use my voice more because things aren't right. I haven't felt loved, all of those things. And then we swing to the other side and we're going to comment and speak about absolutely everything. And then the health is in the middle of that. But I think that process is necessary. I think we have to go into that sort of anger, noticing everything, commenting on everything. As hard as it is for the betrayer, I think that our awareness needs that type of hypervigilance for a short period of time to really recognize how much we have been abandoned by ourselves and by someone else.
Right. And can we just normalize for a moment why and how we get here? Betrayed partners have literally been talked out of our truth
Hmm.
so long, sometimes for lifetimes. And so it's completely legitimate, normal, understandable to find yourself in a situation where you have felt disconnected from that capacity to speak our truth, to feel deep in our souls that what we're saying is real and that it is trustworthy and it is reliable, especially separate from whether or not it's legitimized or validated or understood or celebrated by the person to whom we're speaking. That part is really hard as well. So we all got here by very legitimate means. So there's not something wrong with us because we suddenly, or maybe have never, felt capable of speaking our truth in a functional way.
I was doing my CEUs for this year. Taking a class on domestic violence is something that we do every 3 years to keep our license. And the woman said something that I had never heard before. She said that the victim suffers in silence until she sees that she might be heard. And then she lets it all out. She continued to say, so often when police come in, the wife looks crazy because she is all over the place, emoting, saying things, her body's activated, everything's firing. And often the police can misunderstand that and victimize her more.
Mhm.
So I think the reason why I'm telling this is that when we find a safe place for our voice, it is very normal to want to get it all out.
Mhm.
If you are early in this journey, find the people that can actually catch it and hold it
Mhm.
so that you are seen and heard.
Mhm.
Because if you are pitching all of that to the wrong person and they don't have the tools or the ability to get out of their own way and hold it for you, then that deepens the trauma.
So let's pause there for a second because this is so important. What are some of the early signs that you can look for in terms of somebody who can hear you, understand you, and respond in a healthy and meaningful way?
Someone that keeps showing up, no matter how big your emotions are, someone who is willing to look you in the eye, someone who is willing to maybe hold you, maybe hold your hand, someone that doesn't take what you're saying, add their stuff to it, and shove it back at you. I remember what that was like, and we see that play out all the time in our practices as well. Oh, you feel this. Let me take what you gave me. I'm going to add all my stuff and I'm going to shove it back to you. Someone who can regulate their own nervous system enough to be present when your nervous system is not regulated.
Yes, so critically helpful and important.
Mhm.
I always say I needed people who could hold themselves together so that I could fall apart.
You know, most we see are very competent. They're very intelligent. They're very capable. Falling apart is a big ask.
It is.
to have navigated the world to the point where you are needing that. The world has said to you, hold it together, do it all, keep your mouth shut, make everybody else happy. So not only are you going to be so brokenhearted, but it is ego dystonic to ask for help, to fall apart, to have someone see you in your vulnerability.
Yes. Yes. It's courageous.
It is very courageous. It's often why all we see in the beginning is anger,
Yes. Yes.
because it is easier to be angry than to be brokenhearted.
Yes.
Not that anger isn't appropriate and warranted. I remember the moment when I saw James being able to be present for me and keep his hurt self out of it. We were standing in the hall and I bapped at him. And I remember seeing him cock his head, and it was as if he was telling his body to hold still. And I saw this change come over him. And it was almost as if he reached inside of himself and he took his wounded little boy and he set him aside and he said, this might be hard to hear, but I'm going to put you over here where you're safe and I'll come back and get you, but I'm going to handle what's happening right now. And boy, did he.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can hear that making it possible and making it safe and desirable for you to communicate yourself, your needs, your wants, your priorities, your asks in a different way than that little Yorkie Terrier.
Mhm. I'm thinking about a new couple that we're seeing right now, and he said, all her asks are valid.
Mm. Mm.
And I thought, you go, guy.
Yeah, way for the win.
All her asks are valid.
Hmm. So let me ask you this. Do you ever see betrayed partners who have been talked out of their truth so much that the safe alternative they've taken is to shut down?
Mm, very much so. When we're in an assessment period with new betrayed partners, we can assess the level of behavior that has threatened them on a spectrum. I remember when I was first practicing, and a woman, a betrayed partner, brings in a computer and she says, I need you to see this. I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to see that. But she had been told that she was wrong so often that she needed to bring me visual proof that her husband was unfaithful.
Right.
On the other end, the partner who has shut down to protect themselves has such a hard road ahead because it's hard to break through that barrier and it feels safe, sort of like a turtle in a shell. It feels safe in there. Those are the two ends of the spectrum that we can see in that intake phase. Someone who has totally shut down on themselves, what we try to do is to breathe life into them,
Mm.
reconnect anything we can for them that is positive and gets them out of that shell. On the other end of the spectrum, we want them to reconnect with what's happening internally, maybe quicker than what's happening in shutdown, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I think we all go through stages in our recovery where we go through different attachment styles to our betrayer. And there is a video of this that James created. You'll soon be able to find it under Core Relationship Recovery on YouTube. But he talks about the changes in the attachment quadrants of the betrayed partner over time. None of it is bad, none of it is wrong. We just have to use different skills in order to help people when they are in different places of this recovery. And there's something to be celebrated about that detachment sometimes.
Yeah.
If you have an unfaithful that is constantly relapsing,
Yeah.
we are so happy to see some of that detachment from the betrayed partner because we know that previously, any little nugget of truth, any movement forward toward recovery, had them all in again. And so they just got smashed against the rocks over and over and over again. So we talk about detach with love, and it is a skill that you have to practice, but it is a really wonderful tool to have in your toolbox.
I was talking with a betrayed partner just this morning, and she's like, I need to stop doing fill in the blank. So it was something specific that she's realizing isn't serving her as she's trying to collect intelligent data about what's happening in her relationship. And I said, so what if instead of thinking about, I need to stop doing this, we instead think, I need to see if it's possible for me to do something different. And once you pull it off, once, sit with that feeling and get connected in your brain, in your heart, in your gut, in your body with what does it feel like to recognize I just did something different. And because I did something different, this is what's possible next. And then if you can do it once, again, you've proven to yourself you can do it again and again and again. But really connecting with that first time is so important because it's when you talk back to your trauma and prove that you are actually the boss of your choices again.
Mhm. Mhm. What types of things do you think betrayed partners should use their voice about?
So the what is it that we need to say? I think it's a great question. I know how hard it is in the beginning to differentiate my truth from somebody else's truth. That idea of I am so attuned to and really so reactive to what my partner is doing that differentiating what I want or what I need or what I believe out of that is really important. I remember years and years ago with my ex-husband, we would get into a lot of disagreements about definitions of things. So he would say, no, when I say sobriety, I mean this. Or when I say relapse, I mean that. Or when I say addiction, I mean this. And being the intelligent, competent, very self-assertive, vocal, I verbalize things. That's how I make truth and really define and crystallize my truth. I, of course, had a lot to say about these things. And I'll never forget the day when I realized it's actually okay if my definition for something doesn't match his. Because if it's happening in my life and it's something that is affecting my well-being, I get to decide what definition works for me. Now, we may need to find some compatibility about those two things if we're sharing a life together, but really being able to give myself permission to have my own idea about what something meant. And I need to qualify this. I always say I needed to know my truth and leave room for it to evolve,
Mhm.
right? Because I never wanted to become this sense of know-it-all. I never wanted to be in that place of know this is my fact, this is my truth, this is my reality, and leave no room to grow, because where the hell does that leave me? I want to be someone who grows and evolves, but to be able to connect with what my understanding and my experience of something really sounds like and looks like, and how I can put that into words, that was huge for me.
Mhm. Mhm. I think stating boundaries about what you can tolerate and what you can't
Huge.
is a beautiful way to use your voice, to use your voice effectively about that. There's a little work that you need to do.
Hmm.
You need to talk to your helper. You need to gather information about what is appropriate in your situation
Yeah.
and to ask for it.
Yeah. And it can often start really simply and really small. Like I always say, our brains heal in increments of small and often. Some of our clearest truths start out as short and simple words like no, or yes, or I am, or I don't, and I'm not. And those really short approaches to something. And you say something really important. I love highlighting, and that is it can be important to figure out what is the top priority goal for using our voice? There are some times I need to say something because I need to say it. The importance is less about whether or not the person who's listening or hearing me is going to understand it or agree with it or communicate back to me about it. The important thing is I need to say it. And other times the exact opposite is true.
Mhm.
It is critically important that the person I'm talking to be able to meet me in that conversation and engage with it. So, understanding straight off the top what my top priority goal is, and it's nice if both can be possible, but if I understand what the top priority goal is, that can give me a lot of really important information that influences those conversations I have with my helping professional or my best friend or the people who are my thinking partners in these things.
I love that. So, those of you who watch Ask the Unfaithful, my husband's a pretty smart man, right? And he's got this big, beautiful brain,
Mhm.
but he didn't understand emotions. He didn't understand relationships. And I realized somewhere along our journey that it was really helpful to me to get my needs met and for him to be able to connect in the way that I needed to preface what I was saying with a qualifier. I need you just to hear me right now. I don't need you to try to fix this. I
Mhm.
just need to say this.
Yes.
I would love your collaboration in figuring out. Sometimes we need to even put like a caution flag before the sentence. I'm feeling fragile.
Yes.
The first time I said that to James, it was as if I had taken a baseball bat and whacked him in the face.
Mhm.
He never really saw me as fragile. His perception of me didn't hold all of me.
Yeah.
And so when I would say, I'm feeling fragile, I got a different kind of listening than if I just said what I needed to say.
Yes, that is absolutely beautiful. Now, I think there is a common mutual misunderstanding for so many of us about what it is we're really asking for when we say we just want to be heard. I think we need to be really honest with ourselves if that is actually true. Because I know for me, sometimes being heard isn't all I want and need. It might be the starting place, but what I'm actually asking for is to be understood. I'm asking to be valued and prioritized enough to listen. And in most cases, what I'm also asking for is a meaningful response.
Mhm.
Because there is nothing more painful to me than saying, I'm feeling fragile. I need you to listen. This is really important to me. Here's what's going on. And for the other person to hear me, they might sit there and listen and then leave me hanging.
Mm,
So I have learned to be more deeply honest with myself about situations. And I'll say it's the majority of the time when I don't just need to be heard. What I actually also really need is to be understood and to be addressed.
mhm, mhm. That leads me to think about saying, pick your audience. Really think about while you're saying, is this something I need to say out loud? Is this something that I need a witness to? And who would be the best witness for this?
Yeah. Yes.
One of the things that I love that we do in our practice is that we have a text thread that goes with the groups, the people that are in our groups. Each group has its own text thread that we're a part of. And I love how there could be a text that says, I'm having a bad day,
Hmm.
right? Or I hate him. Or, you know, does somebody have bail money? Whatever it is, right? They can put it out there and they're going to get a response from somebody. And I can guarantee everybody reads it.
Yes. Yes. And in using a group environment like that to workshop communication helps everybody to cultivate our critical thinking skills. It's helpful for me because it is an opportunity to engage different perspectives, different vantage points, different voices about the same topic. And that really does help strengthen everything in everyone.
Mhm. It really does. To workshop something, what I think of is how can I say this in the most impactful, concise way that meets my needs and might get the outcome that I'm needing. I remember, I'm a play therapist at heart and spent many, many, many years working with naughty little boys. That was what my practice consisted of. And I remember saying to parents, short and sweet, you want your kids to hear you, short and sweet.
Yeah.
For women, and you already said this, so I'm going to highlight this, we process verbally most of the time.
Most of the time.
So having a few dry runs with someone else before you have the big show can be really, really important.
Yes. So when we don't do that, and when we are beginning from this predicate place of having been talked out of our truth and not being heard and understood and addressed for so long, what do you see as some of the dysfunctional patterns or pitfalls that we find ourselves either tripping over or falling into? So, one of the ones that comes to my mind, for example, and it was huge for me, was begging. Like, I forgot my own sense of self-respect.
Mhm.
I forgot to believe that my words are valuable and important enough and that I am worth listening to the first time. And I fell into this rhythm of feeling like I needed to say it over and over and over. And maybe if I said it just the right way, in just the right tone, at just the right time, under just the right circumstances, under a full moon when the stars were aligned, I might possibly this time get a different answer from my partner.
Yes. Yes. So I think about that desperation that can come. And we often say to folks, if you are feeling desperate, not only are you reacting to what's happening right now, but there's something in your past that has it leveling up to that desperate place.
Mhm.
and that past can be 20 years of living with someone that didn't listen to you. When I was younger and I divorced my children's father, I took them to therapy and he never went. Bless his heart. He hated therapy and therapists. That's why I got divorced. But I remember the therapist saying to me, don't waste your voice. He can only hear things from someone else right now.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, wow. Wasn't that what I had to say wasn't important? It was really important. It was usually about the children, right?
Mhm.
But we had to figure out how to get someone else's voice in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we did.
And the built-in beautiful side effect to that is that by preserving your voice, not wasting it in ways that were ineffectual, you were able to reserve and reallocate that energy to rebuilding your life and caring for your kiddos.
Hmm. Hmm. So sometimes we like to put guardrails when we're helping someone find their voice. Don't use your voice in the middle of the night unless you absolutely have to, because sleep is really important. So, balancing using your voice to what is healthy for you.
Mhm.
I think that there were times where I could have talked for a week straight, morning, noon, and night, and I wore myself out.
So, talk to me about this one. Sometimes when we're not feeling heard or understood or addressed, it's not the content or the volume or the frequency or the duration. Sometimes it's the word choices we make. I know being someone who's really good at using my words, when I'm really hurt and I'm really mad, my words get mean. My words get sharp. My words get viscerally harmful, whether it's sarcasm, ridicule. How do you address that when it comes up for betrayed partners?
Yeah. So, I've often said that one of the things that I am most not proud of was my ability to mock James early in our recovery. I was excellent at it. It felt good for a moment, but then the feeling of shame and guilt, the feeling of being pushed outside of who I really was and who I wanted to be would rise. And it would fuel another cycle of that mocking. So we often say, if you want to be heard, use words that other people can hear and process. Oftentimes, my pain was so great when I chose to mock James that I didn't want to be in the conversation that I found myself in, even if I started it. And me mocking him could shut that conversation off like that.
Mhm.
So, really telling yourself the truth, right? What's happening for me in this moment? Having that curiosity of why am I choosing this?
Mhm.
The sledgehammer instead of, and what's really happening here for me.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Mhm. I remember the minute that I made the choice to never do it again. I felt so icky inside. It was like my insides had turned black and slimy.
Yeah.
And I had this realization you are so outside of who you are right now.
Yes. Yes.
And if my children were watching me at this moment, I would hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I resonate with that. That reminds me, I had a very clear moment of projective identification when I went through my rage stage and saw a look cross my ex-husband's face that was identical to how I felt as a child when someone was raging at me. And that was a turning point moment for me because I couldn't go back and change my experience of that, but I sure as hell could stop from repeating and really paying that pattern forward.
Yes. So, what we're talking about is having this self-aware piece, right? So, in order to use your voice effectively, it must come from a place of self-awareness.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So we talk so much about self-talk
Mhm.
and how critically important that is, that dialogue with our best selves, the highest, truest, most authentic version of ourselves, and the version we want to grow and cultivate and mature. And what does that person have to say? And what does that person have to suggest we need to say in order to heal and grow?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have clients who often say to both of us, it's like you ride around on our shoulder and whisper in our ear. And that's so funny because I can imagine all of the trouble we could get into doing that. But it's such a beautiful expression, not of our expertise, but of their awareness of what's happening.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there's that sense of internalized insight and wisdom. I always say when you don't need to text or call someone anymore because you are so deeply attuned with this new way of choosing to be in your life. That's a hallmark moment.
Mhm. Mhm. It is. So I hope that we have helped clarify some of the things that we know about betrayed partners using their voice. Please leave comments for us. We are reading everything that you send us via comment or email. Know that we can't do therapy over email. That email is askthebetrayed@gmail.com. I finally got it right.
You did.
And we appreciate you joining us next week. Join Sam and James for ATU. Thank you.
Bye.